Hi, this is another Ask Augustin. Today I'm going to talk about mannerisms. Mannerisms are things that are generally not really intended. Like we don't quite mean to play it this way, but something became a habit and became totally ingrained. But a mannerism is also something that's a little bit out of place. That's not quite, it doesn't quite feel right within the style of that piece in the context in which it's done. So here's some technical mannerisms. A common technical mannerism is, in a vibrated lyrical passage, whenever the pinky happens to play a note, it's unvibrated. This is it's really natural. Actually, it's what the hand kind of often wants to do, and we have to work a little bit against that. But it can become a technical mannerisms when it's always the case. Slides sometimes can become mannerisms. A slide can be very expressive, very beautiful, very lyrical somehow if it's used in the right place, so that it really has a purpose, so that it really sounds like a voice. But slides can also become mannerisms in this whole virtuoso tradition of playing. Sometimes slides are just done just because they feel good and it seems kind of cool, but it's and I'm gonna do this slide here and this slide there, like do as many slides as possible. At that point I think it becomes a bit of a mannerism. A common mannerisms during passage work is that when you have a long run, to suddenly stretch the last note before you arrive. So if you're going that I sometimes see violinists go like that. It's very easy to get into this mannerism because you just finished the run and you're about to start maybe another run or something else, and so there's a little bit of hesitation that your hands just do, and you get totally used to it, and then you get used to the timing and you no longer even notice that you're doing it. But it's generally not a good idea to suddenly stretch the last note of a run. One example would be maybe, I don't know, in Tchaikovsky when you go that. If you're going, it'll actually be quite hard for people to play together with you because they expect you to arrive at the downbeat at a certain point based just on how you were speeding up or slowing down or just how you were pacing it, and then suddenly the last note is stretched and it's like, whoa, that comes a little later. So I was talking about rubato recently in another episode, so this is actually an example of really hard to follow rubato also. So this is a mannerism. This kind of mannerism you will notice if you record yourself. It's when you have a mannerism. I've had many mannerisms myself in the past. When you have a mannerism, you can notice them. When you record yourself and kind of listen to yourself with fresh ears, and suddenly you realize, oh, I'm always doing this. Why am I doing that? And then that's the first step to kind of stop a mannerism. I would say that musical mannerisms often come from exaggerating things that were actually to begin with a good thing. So, for example, making an interesting or very expressive color change somewhere. That's great if it's at the right place, but maybe it starts to be overused so much, and even in places where it doesn't quite feel appropriate, then it's a mannerism. Or it gets exaggerated more and more because maybe you start off, the first time you did it, you played something, and then it comes back and you want to play a different color, so you maybe you even play without vibrato and create a different sound. But then the effect wears off and you gradually feel like, is this really a big enough contrast? I want to do it more. I want it to be more extreme, and then eventually you end up, you're going like the first one, and then the second one is like, and then the difference has become so great. I mean, greater than it needs to be musically, maybe. It depends what style you're playing. If you're playing a piece that's really expressionist, then maybe that is the degree of contrast you want, but not if you play Mozart. So you have to be careful. This is also where recording yourself can be helpful. Be careful that you don't exaggerate things too much, that there's not too much of a good thing, that maybe the things you're doing, which might be really sensible, really great, be careful not to do them too much. When I was growing up, I actually often heard from teachers it's better to do too much than to do too little. And I think that's wrong. Because I feel it's actually better to do too little than to do too much. I mean, ideally you do just the right amount. You do something that's really, is convincing. And there's leeway, like how much is, maybe there's too little, there's too much, and there's a large area in between, which could be appropriate. There are many ways of doing things. But I think exaggerating too much can, it's a real pitfall. When I was 12, 13 years old, I had some lessons with Norbert Breining from the Amadeus Quartet, and they were musically very, very inspiring. He was a great musician with so many years of experience, and he always looked at the whole score and had some interesting insights. He was somebody who felt very strongly that it was better to do things in quite a subtle way, that actually less is more in terms of interpretation. And I remember when I was playing for him the first Beethoven sonata, where there's this place, and I was playing and he got quite mad at me actually, and he said, "Why are you doing this sudden piano there?" And I said, "I don't know, I mean it's repeating, maybe it should be different." And he just let's just say he disagreed very much, and of course I realize now he's right. The piano during this, the piano is going, so it makes no sense for the violin to actually make a dynamic drop there. The violin just goes from having the main thing to having the second line and then back and forth. But this was an example, I think, of a musical mannerism, and he I think was very, very sensitive to those and really didn't like them. And it was, I think, the first time that I became aware of a musical mannerism I was doing that made no sense. And suddenly, once I realized that, I said, "Yeah, why am I doing this piano? That makes no sense." And it was maybe the beginning of a long process of re-examining many such choices that I had made. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you next time.